There was a town in Australia, let me just say Australia. And 10 newcomers came to that town. They were on welfare. Even though the other Australians just had to work, they received welfare. Those were 5 ex-convicts and 5 ex-military personnel. Those 10 were involved in human trafficking, the selling of babies to child predators through pedophilia networks and all of that. And they were found guilty and sentenced for life. One of them was sentenced to death in the United States, but because he had Australian citizenship, they transferred him onto Australia and his sentence was converted into a life sentence. After about 5 years in jail, the Governor General of Australia, because Australia is a constitutional kingdom with the King of the or Queen of the United Kingdom as separate King of Australia, the Governor General, on behalf of the Queen, now today you still have Queen Elizabeth II, the Governor General granted them royal pardon, or you can call it amnesty in neutral terms. This means that their whole record would be wiped out and that they would be treated as common Australian citizens as if nothing ever happened. They could never be prosecuted again in a court of law for all the crimes they committed and the harm they brought on Australia. And the men were released. But hold up. In that town, they were getting drunk, causing fights. They were assaulting young women. And they were still bragging about all the crimes they did and how they enjoyed them. They were still defending their actions. They had the reasons for it. And here's the thing. Some of them were even planning to conduct similar operations, but on a lower scale. And the same men received welfare. They even received money to decorate their homes. The kingdom, in this case Australia, was very favorable unto them. But look at what happened. When the other Australians nearby in other towns heard about this, they became outraged. They sent letters to the Governor General. They even sued the Governor General. And here's what the common complaints were. We Australians need to go to work every day to contribute to Australian society. And we do it diligently. We don't complain. We don't murmur and all of that. And these men, even though they're part of us, they alienated themselves from us. They made vows unto demons against us. They sold our children to predators of foreign countries. They brought harm and destruction on us. They agreed harm on us. Now, instead of getting rid of them and keeping us safe as a community, you, Governor General, released them amongst us, and they haven't changed a bit. They have not agreed with the terms of the pardon, because the terms of the royal pardon is that they ought to conform to the kingdom and operate as the citizens of the kingdom, just like we do. But those men are still operating as part of some rebel militia. And they are exploiting the funds of the kingdom, which we enable as citizens of Australia for their rebellion against us. And they're the ones harming us. So Governor General, how will you give an account for this to the Queen? Or how will you give an account concerning this to us, your people? You can't do this. And you know what? Some of those Australian citizens, they went to the International Court of Justice in The Hague. They traveled all the way to the Netherlands, to The Hague, and they sued the Governor General. And the International Court agreed with them. You also had a European Court of Human Rights, which in this case was not legally binding because it was outside of Europe, but also they agreed with it. There were even Mexican cartels who heard about the news randomly, and they agreed with Australian citizens. Listen to this, even those demonically infested cartels agreed with them. There were hardcore thugs in Australia's most dangerous prisons that agreed with the people. And all had the following argument in common. They made plain, you cannot enable evildoers with ease and comfort while they're still practicing evil and harming the community. Yes, you can be merciful unto them. Being merciful will have benefits for the community as a whole and for them also. However, you need to make plain unto them that they need to comply. They need to comply with justice, safety, righteousness, in order for there to be safety and welfare for everyone, them included. You can't allow them to will whatever they will and still receive benefits, because then you're financing their rebellion and you're financing harm on your own community. And some of those hardcore criminals were thinking, are those politicians in Australia stupid? Even us, hardcore criminals who make very dumb moves, if we can understand you can't do something like this. Now, that was a parable, okay? Now, you may understand already where I'm going with this. Christ died and rose again for the human race, for humanity. And he has made forgiveness, restoration, all that possible in him. People ought to become born again and renewed in their mind. This is an obligation for all human beings. It's not an option or an offer. It's an obligation. He's Lord. And here's the thing. Christ never, as the King of heaven and earth, he never granted anyone any permission to go against his will and his decree. He never did. He is Lord. So now, you as a believer, you serve the King, not a king or a government or an authority, the authority. So you ought to agree with the authority to operate in the power he grants you. Right? Now hold up. Christ said to forgive 7 times, 70 times. So forgiveness should be part of who you are. And it depends not on the other, it depends upon you walking by faith. So forgiveness is your attitude towards everyone. But here's the thing. Christ did not tell you to reconcile with everyone. And Christ did not tell you to finance everyone. But didn't Christ told us, Rashid, that we ought to pray for those that despisefully use us, that we ought to bless our enemies, or ought to turn the other cheek? Listen, when Christ walked the earth, he walked in power. Nobody dared to come to him and slap him in the face. He walked in power. Understand me? If he didn't walk in power, he couldn't be walking around freely doing what he was doing. There were groups against him, there were gangs coming after Christ. Let me tell you, when he walked the earth, nobody dared to lay hands on him. He walked in power. And the same power he wants you to walk in. That's why you ought to agree with him. Christ walked in absolute safety. The same he wants for you. That's why you ought to agree with him, agree with his protocol, and so that you walk in his power. And about turning the other cheek, I already made videos about that. It simply means that you evaluate the situation and you use the aggression of the perpetrator to exhaust the perpetrator, so eventually the violence is broken. That is what it means to turn the other cheek. It doesn't mean enable the other to keep abusing you and to destroy you. Okay? That's what pagan Christianity teaches you. Christ didn't teach you that. Okay, another thing. Christ said, bless those that curse you, pray those that despitefully use you. He aimed at your attitude, because humans tend to mirror one another, tend to imitate one another. That's how we are designed. Christ understands that, but Christ doesn't want you to imitate nor mirror the attitude of negative-minded people. So you bless those that curse you and pray for those that despitefully use you. So you look at the bigger picture, look at the bigger good, you realize those people also came from a household, and they also come from broken homes, or they're also part of the community. So if they're harmed, others are harmed also. So you look at the bigger picture. You don't just look at your personal feelings of being hurt. Okay? So you pray for those that despitefully use you, and you bless those that curse you, in a sense that you have a Christ-centered, positive attitude towards them. Therefore, also towards the community around you. That's what it means. It does not mean enabling people to have negative attitudes towards you. It doesn't mean give them ease and the right to do so. And pray for those that despitefully use you, and blessing those that curse you. and loving your enemies and turning the other cheek, all of that does not imply that no proper actions concerning safety shouldn't be taken. Okay? Now look, it comes down to this. There shouldn't be any amnesty. Amnesty is a secular form of royal pardon in which a criminal or a terrorist is released from all prosecution, and in which the individual also is treated as an innocent citizen. There is really a reset. No amnesty should be given without compliance. That's how it works in international law. In this world, this Apollonistic world, where they worship the devil, this world is run by pagan rulers. In this world that's wicked, they understand that you can't grant anyone amnesty without compliance. And that's common sense. Think of the example of those Australians that I gave in the beginning. In that parable, the angry citizens were right. They were horrified that the governor general, who ought to look after their common interests as a community, betrayed them by financing those evildoers that were harming the community. Well, let me tell you one thing. Pagan Christianity has conditioned people, not only pagan Christians, not only believers are trapped by pagan Christianity, but pagan Christianity also influences people of other religions. Also, atheists are influenced by pagan Christianity, even though they don't want to admit this. Pagan Christianity has taught humanity, and still doing till this day. And this teaching of theirs has been very powerful, but very destructive. It teaches people to grant amnesty without compliance of the perpetrators. That is what pagan Christianity is teaching us. Remember, they're teaching this to everyone. They're teaching this to schools, to universities, to colleges. They teach this everywhere. Pagan Christianity is quite tactful, they're quite practical. But what they're teaching is disruptive. They are distorting and twisting what Christ taught. So people receive the twisted message and think it's the real message of Christ, but it's not. Christ never preached nor condoned amnesty without compliance. He never did. He destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah when they refused to comply with justice. He destroyed Egypt when they refused to comply with justice by letting the Israelites go. He destroyed the Israelites, those generations that refused to comply with Moses to enter the promised land. Okay, you follow me here now? He destroyed the Babylonian Empire because they abused his people, even though even though the Israelites of that generation were wicked and they brought it on themselves, he still did not agree with the violence of the Babylonians. He destroyed their empire. And he used the prophet Daniel and other believers at the time to do it. Come on, should I continue? Well, I really don't have to continue, because you already know about it. You can read it in scripture for yourself. Christ, neither in the Old nor in the New Testament, never preached, condoned, nor supported amnesty without compliance. But what are people doing today in the name of Christ? They enforce the policy of amnesty without compliance. Now look, there's a difference between being merciful and forgiving and loving and going the extra mile. That's also important. I'm not talking about law and order here. I'm not preaching law and order in this message, because law and order is satanic. Law and order, there's no humanity and no the grace, no mercy in it. So I'm not talking about that. Okay, so I'm not saying we have to go to law and order. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm just saying is there's a difference between being merciful, forgiving, graceful, going the extra mile. There's a difference between all of that, which should happen, and being stupid. Often people don't see the difference between being Christ-like and being stupid. There's a very big difference. But pagan Christianity teaches you to be stupid while thinking you're Christ-like. In that parable I gave in the beginning of this video, those 10 criminals, those 10 terrorists, I already have to say, they were empowered by the I'm saying by the benefits that Australia granted them. And they use it against Australia. Because they were set against Australia, they were set against the kingdom. How? So that's why the citizens of the kingdom were asking, Governor, you ought to do the king's will. You ought to do the will, you ought to look after us. Why are you financing those that are out to get us? Now look at yourself. Are you agreeing with amnesty without compliance? Because that teaching is an abomination to the Most High. It's an abomination even to those that use common sense. Well, let me say it like this. Even hardcore criminals, even people that have a very low IQ, that use their brains, can make sense and realize amnesty without compliance is dangerous. You're really giving people the rights to harm you. You're giving people the right to invest negative against you. Okay, another example. Let's say now that you have people, let's say you have France now. Or better, let me give another example. You have Germany. And there are people there that support groups like ISIS and such terror groups. They donate large sums of their salary to those groups. What do you think the German state is going to do? It's going to analyze where the money is going, where the funds are going, and they will cooperate with other EU member states to roll up those criminal gangs, with those terrorist gangs. And what will happen next? Then we'll go after the supporters that enabled and all those terror groups and made all those terror cells possible. Because the terror cells need funding. Then they will go after the funds. Now the German state will know that some people are tricked into donating and they're not aware. Because many times criminal groups, they raise up those fake charity organizations, and when you donate to those charity organizations, you're really donating to a criminal organization. So there are people being tricked. So the German state found out that 20% of the people that donated were tricked, but the other 80% knew what they were doing. So what do you think the German state is going to do with them? Well, they have something to explain, and they will have to go to jail. They have to lose everything. That may cause a lot of trouble. So the German state will tell them, you comply with Germany, you forfeit all of this, you forfeit your past, you forfeit that way of thinking completely, and you comply with the German heritage, with the German standards, all of that. And once you comply, we will leave this behind, but we will keep you on surveillance for several years to be certain that you are not a threat to Germany anymore, nor to Europe. That is what Germany would do. And people would clap their hands and say, that's the right thing. But what does pagan Christianity teach you? No, just forget about the past, leave it all behind, it doesn't matter. They may have the reasons, or they have a free will, so you have to allow them. Never force people, and when you force people to do something you don't want, it's very hurtful, very painful. So pagan Christianity shows so much sympathy to the will and the interest of reprobates. That's what pagan Christianity is doing. No surprise. Pagan Christianity is a safe haven for reprobates. It's not a safe haven for the victims and those that really need help. Pagan Christianity is a safe haven for reprobates. That's why pagan Christianity often sympathizes, empathizes, and advocates the rights and the wills of reprobates and predators. But they do this in a so-called loving manner in the name of Christ, and that's why they get away with it. Well, not here. I expose pagan Christianity often on this channel, and I keep doing it. This video isn't just about pagan Christianity. Evaluate your way of thinking. Are you condoning or are you approving of amnesty without compliance? Look, I'm not saying that if someone has been rude to you, has cut you off, that you suddenly have to become bitter against them and demand best of them. I'm not talking about revenge feelings and hatred and all that. I'm not talking about paying evil for evil. I'm not talking about all that crap, okay? If you've been following my channel, you know I'm not into that. I'm not talking about paying evil for evil and insult for insult and all of that. I'm talking about taking proper actions to guarantee safety, both individually and collectively. That always ought to happen. And that implies that the perpetrator or those that enable the perpetrator need to realize that they need to comply with justice. And if they persist in agreeing with the negative, there must be repercussions against them. And those repercussions must last day and night. with every breath they take while they're alive until they forfeit the negative and comply with justice. That's how it ought to be. That's what the apostles did. That's what Christ did. That's what the prophets of old did. That's what King David did. That's what all the saints throughout history have done. But pagan Christianity has deceived many saints into thinking amnesty without compliance, that's loving, that's kind. It's not loving, it's not kind. Okay, let me give another parable now. I'm going to use you. Let's say you're a female, maybe you're a male, but okay. In this parable you have, let me think of a name. Ariel it was a male name. Justine, okay, I'm going to use the name Justine. Justine has two friends that did her dirty and called her off and spread all kinds of rumors about her. Justine forgot all about it and moved on. Justine, when she applied for jobs, she was declined. Now what happened? The rumors that those two women spread had sown bad seeds concerning Justine in people's minds, and people spread those bad seeds. So after a while, you had many people that thought bad about Justine, so that's why when she applied for jobs, people associated her with the bad stuff they heard about her, which weren't true. But because they had received bad information about Justine, it already affected how they were filtering information about her. That's just how it goes. The people that declined her jobs did not intend her harm. They had no evil intent, but they were just affected by the bad seeds sown about her. And those lies about Justine were enabled by other people. Now, Justine, for the next years, she had economic losses, she had difficulty maintaining a stable income, although to the fact that were people enabling negativity against her. Now, those people didn't want to hang out with Justine, they were fed up with Justine, all of that. People would say to her, well, friendships come, friendships go, just leave them alone, it's their life, they want to move on, you should move on also. But then one individual tells Justine, when those two frenemies turned on you, did you pray for justice on your behalf? Did you return back negative investments to their senders? Did you agree with the Savior on your behalf for your safety? Justine looks at him and says, what are you talking about? Christ wants me to forgive, to walk in love, and to move on. And to do good to those that do me dirty. That individual tells you, yes, Christ told you to do that, but Christ also told you to not throw pearls before swine. He also told you to be alert. Christ also told you to judge righteously. When Christ said don't judge, he was talking about judging in the flesh, judging based on false information or judging based on selfish motives. He told us to judge righteously. It's also written in the scripture that the saints will judge the world. So you, having the ability to make righteous judgments, you should have judged the situation and should have judged those people. Yes, you should have walked in love towards them. You shouldn't have wished harm on them. However, look at what happened, Justine. All these financial difficulties and all the other effects that on your social life, also romantic life, and also life with your relatives, all the stress it brought on your health, all of this, it all came from those people enabling the negative. Not only those two frenemies that left you, but also the other people that got along with them. Those bad seeds they've sown are growing. Those bad seeds need to be uprooted. Justice needs to take place for you to be safe. And here's the thing. You have gifts and talents that will be a blessing unto others. So not only have they robbed you, they also robbed other people that would have been blessed by you. And not only that, they're doing the same with many other people. So there is no safety around as long as those people are holding on to the negative and investing in the negative. They shouldn't do it. Then Justine said, but I can't force them to change their mind. I can't force them to walk in love and all of that. Then the guy told her, of course you can't do that. But what you can do is to agree with Christ and to walk in righteous judgment. Yes, you need to heal emotionally of what they did to you. You need to be delivered from the pain. And of course, that may take time. However, that does not mean that this can just continue like this. Okay, that was a parable. I made a video before in which I told you to refuse. I said refuse negative words spoken on your life. Some of you may have a parent or a sibling or some teacher speaking bad stuff over your life. Some didn't intend to speak bad over your life, they were just frustrated and they said things they didn't mean or they shouldn't say. Those are incidents, it can happen. Nevertheless, you should refuse all bad words spoken over your life, because all bad words, all bad sentences decreed upon your life are spells that will bind you. I'm telling you, look, people can be frustrated and say things they shouldn't say. Okay, that means that those individuals need deliverance, and you can pray for their deliverance. Nevertheless, still refuse negative words spoken over your life. Some of you have no idea how negative words spoken over your life, especially by those that should have cared for you, for example, your parents or relatives or people that were close to you. Some of you just don't realize how impactful spells can be. That's why you ought to refuse them. You ought to operate against them. Look, in the world, when a narcissist or when a group of people are fed up with something, they take actions against it to be relieved. Whether it's someone playing loud music in their homes and they are tired of it, they take actions. And if they can't do it on their own, they'll either use violence or they will look for assistance to get what they want. If a criminal wants to rob a store, he will either do it on his own, knowing he needs a weapon, or if he knows it's too much, he will seek for assistance. In the world, when people will something, or I'm saying when they don't want something, they know how to fight to get rid of the thing they don't want. And they can be consistent in it, even though the attitude is wrong, because they're only relief seeking. They don't look at the bigger picture, they're only concerned with their own relief. Nevertheless, they are persistent in pursuing and securing their own relief. Yet being Christianity teaches you to have the policy of amnesty without compliance. I'm telling you, cut it out. Cut it out. Unlearn the garbage that pagan Christianity taught you. Because you will only enable evil and self-destruction when you comply with pagan Christianity. Agree and comply with Christ.